Renegade Immortal, Chapter 108, Old Friend. Hello, welcome back to my channel, Books with AR. As he walked out of the cave, Wang Lin coldly looked around and saw 100 or so people split into 5 groups. They were surrounding a young man. A middle-aged man walked out of the mob of people. He clasped his hands and said, "Junior brother Xian, your Xuan Dao Sect already has a token. Why do you need so many? If you hand it over, we won't trouble you anymore." Among the disciples of Wu Feng Valley, a disciple snorted and said, "Xian, hand over the tokens, or you will die for sure." The person they surrounded was Xian, someone that Wang Lin had met back in the Hengyue sect. He was here to represent the Xuan Dao Sect and was the only qi condensation disciple from the Xuan Dao Sect. The Wang Valley only had an upper limit and not a lower limit on who could enter, so even a qi condensation disciple was allowed inside. Most sects wouldn't send a qi condensation disciple, though. Xian was able to come because he was good at making fake magic pills, and he was a master of sneak attacks. With these abilities, Punanzi broke the rules and let him go. Punanzi also gave him a magic treasure that made it so people wouldn't be able to detect him. The downside of this treasure is the more he uses it, the less effective it becomes. Xian really did have some skill. Thanks to the protection of his fellow disciples, he was able to steal quite a few things during battles, including 2 tokens. Adding on the token the Xuan Dao Sect already had, they now held 3 tokens. The sects that lost their tokens attacked non-stop in the hopes of taking one back, which was why there were so many battles before. But it is also because Xian was too greedy. After he entered the Wang Valley, every time he saw someone, he would use that treasure to hide his presence and steal something. As he used it more and more, the magic treasure gradually lost its effect, and when he was stealing the 4th token, the magic treasure completely lost its effect. He was found out, but the Xuan Dao Sect disciples reacted quickly enough to save his life. The news spread out, and all of the sects that had lost a token stopped fighting and rushed toward the Xuan Dao Sect's gathering place. The Xuan Dao Sect's disciples were trapped there, so he secretly escaped using the tunnel he had dug ahead of time. However, what he didn't expect was to be found and forced to flee the moment he came out of the tunnel. He only ran a few steps when he turned around and saw more than 100 sword lights chasing after him. He almost fell to the ground because every one of them was at the foundation establishment stage. And this is how the situation played out. Xian knelt down and threw 2 tokens on the ground without any hesitation. The surroundings suddenly became quiet. The 2 sects that had lost their tokens had several people charge out, but how could the other sects just let them take the tokens back? So they sent out people to stop them. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he stared at the tokens on the ground. He moved quickly toward the tokens. Someone noticed him coming and went to stop him, but Wang Lin activated his attraction force technique and threw that person away. Just like that, after several steps, Wang Lin was almost at the tokens. The 2 groups that were fighting finally noticed Wang Lin. The people who were informed of the happenings within the Wang Valley recognized Wang Lin. They all secretly complained, but stopped and didn't dare move forward. However, there were still some cultivators who had only heard about Wang Lin but never saw him, so they charged forward without any hesitation. Wang Lin's eyes lit up, and a small green sword suddenly appeared and began to flash. Every time the sword flashed, a cultivator would be frozen in ice and die on the spot. Wang Lin secretly sighed. He had noticed a few days that there was something wrong with the flying sword. Ever since his spiritual energy changed, it was harder to make the sword move as he wished. However, he just needed to concentrate more on controlling the sword, and he wouldn't have any more problems. With the power of the Ji realm spiritual energy, no foundation establishment cultivator could stand in his way. Even the magic treasures their elders had given them all fell to his Ji realm energy. It has to be said that for a Ji realm cultivator, their best weapon is their Ji realm. Wang Lin walked another 5 steps. For every single step, several people died to the flying sword. Gradually, there were less and less people around him, as most of them quickly backed away, not daring to move forward. Wang Lin easily arrived before Li Shard. Li Shan was so scared that he didn't even dare to raise his head. Wang Lin's right hand reached out and grabbed the 2 tokens. He pondered for a while, then put the 2 tokens in his bag of holding. As his cold gaze swept past everyone, he said, "Hand over all of your tokens, or die." Li Shan, who was lying on the ground, noticed that the voice was familiar, so he worked up his courage to raise his head. Suddenly, he felt like he was struck by lightning and said, "You? Wang Lin!" Wang Lin gazed at Li Shan. This scared Li Shan so much that he shivered and immediately shut up. But there was a storm in his heart. It has to be said that the name Wang Lin was very popular in the Xuan Dao Sect. Wang Lin, who arrived like a storm in the exchange between the Hangyue sect and the Xuan Dao Sect, was the goal of many core disciples of the Xuan Dao Sect. He was also the person that Li Shan wanted to surpass the most, even in his dreams, especially after the incident with the stink bomb. Li Shan's life was hard after that event. During that time, Li Shan cursed Wang Lin on a daily basis. But even so, he still believed that there would be a day when he would surpass Wang Lin, and after he reached the 14th layer of qi condensation, this thought became even more entrenched in his mind. But now he was dumbfounded as he found out that the difference between them was like the difference between heaven and earth. It had only been a few years, and Wang Lin already had the ability to easily kill Foundation establishment cultivators. In Li Shan's eyes, Wang Lin's progress was simply amazing. After hearing Wang Lin's words, the people around him couldn't help but remember Wang Lin's reputation in Wang Valley and how he easily killed all those Foundation establishment cultivators just now. Their hearts turned cold. After a long time, a white-clad youth sighed. He looked deeply at Wang Lin and asked, "Fellow cultivator, can you tell me what your cultivation level is?" Wang Lin plainly said, "Foundation establishment." Renegade Immortal, Chapter 109. Hello, welcome back to my channel, Books with AR. The person was startled. He thought that Wang Lin wasn't willing to tell the truth, so he bitterly smiled. He slapped his bag of holding, threw out a token, turned around, and loudly said, "The Piao Miao sect gives up their chance to enter the foreign battleground. Once the valley opens, we are leaving." With that, he led a group of cultivators southwest and slowly disappeared. With someone leading the way, the sects that had already lost their tokens explained their situation and even opened up every disciple's bag of holding. After that, 3 more sects left. The He Huang sect was the last sect with a token. The female disciple leading the group didn't hand over the token, but looked at the other remaining sect, Wu Feng Valley. The leader of Wu Feng Valley was an old man who looked like he was close to death. He was already at the pseudo core formation stage and would only need to go into closed-door training for a few years to form his core. He stared at Wang Lin and sneered. "Little baby, this old man has to thank you for gathering all these tokens for me. Leave behind the tokens and you can scram." The He Huang sect's leader's brow loosened. After talking to the members of the sect, they all slowly backed away. Wang Lin's gaze swept past them before landing on the arrogant old man. Then, without a word, he slapped his bag of holding, and a cyan grain of rice appeared in the air. It was clear from the expression on the old man's face that he was looking down on Wang Lin. He felt that he could have killed those people as cleanly as Wang Lin did. In his eyes, Wang Lin must have hidden his strength, but at most it was only the peak of late-stage Foundation establishment. He believed that his cultivation level was the same as Wang Lin's. Because he was at the same cultivation level and was holding one of Wu Feng Valley's key treasures, the Heavenly Lightning Wind Fire Fan, he had no doubt that his victory was assured. Now seeing that Wang Lin took out an unimpressive little point of light, a condescending smile appeared on his face, and he shouted to his fellow disciples, All of you, back up and watch how I destroy this arrogant brat." With that, he waved his hand, and a small 3-inch fan appeared in his hand. There were many golden flame symbols on the fan, making it look very pretty. The expressions of the other Wu Feng Valley disciples changed when they heard the old man's words and saw the fan. They unconsciously backed up. Some even backed up more than 100 feet before they relaxed a bit. Wang Lin moved and grabbed the dumbfounded Li Shan as he quickly backed up. As he backed up, he used his attraction force technique to control the grain of rice to go toward the old man. The old man's face was filled with disdain. He hit the fan, and the fan opened. As the fan opened, a beam of golden light shot out. Suddenly, a strange wind appeared and flew around the fan. Then, the golden fire on the fan seemed to be alive, instantly heating up the area. Just at that moment, the cyan grain hit the outer edge of the strange wind. In the next instant, the golden fire surrounded the grain. Wang Lin's expression was normal. His feet didn't stop as he thought in his head, "Explode." In the midst of the strange wind and golden fire, a cyan light burst forth. When it reached its peak, it exploded with a boom and formed a ring of cyan light that began to spread like a tidal wave. This scene was like 10,000 horses galloping. In an instant, it covered everything within more than 300 meters. Wind was normally an intangible thing, but under the power of the G realm, the wind turned into pieces of blue ice and fell to the ground. Next was the golden fire. The flame didn't even have time to go out before it was frozen. If one looked closely, it would look like the flame was still burning inside the ice. As for the Wu Feng Valley's treasure, the heavenly lightning wind fire fan, it maintained its open form as it was covered by blue ice. The pseudo-core formation old man didn't even have time to react. His face was full of disdain and pride when the ice froze him. Behind him were 17 disciples of Wu Feng Valley. Even the ones that backed up more than 100 feet weren't able to escape. They all became ice sculptures. Within a 300-meter radius, nothing was left alive. Anything that breathed was killed. This became a forbidden area for life. Li Shan's mind went blank as he stared dumbfounded at the scene before him. His heart was shocked to the limit. He opened his mouth but was unable to speak. His gaze toward Wang Lin became much more respectful. The disciples of the He Huang sect managed to escape it because they were 500 meters away, but they didn't dare to move because Wang Lin's cold gaze locked on them. The disciples of Wu Feng Valley turning into ice sculptures before them left the He Huang sect disciples in a state of shock. Looking at the 10-plus ice sculptures, the leading female disciple's face was pale as she took out the token without hesitation. After she carefully put the token on the ground, Wang Lin shouted, "How many tokens are there in total?" The female disciple's body shook. Suppressing her fear, her voice trembled as she said, "There are 3. There are only 3 slots." With that, she was afraid that her explanation wasn't enough and would anger Wang Lin, so she quickly added, "Fellow cultivator, of the 3 remaining tokens, I know where one of them is. If you let us go, I can tell you." Wang Lin glanced at her, and the female disciple immediately became scared. She anxiously said, Fellow cultivator, Renegade Immortal." Chapter 110. Liu Mei. Hello, welcome back to my channel, Books with AR. Wang Lin's expression was normal as he coldly said, "Speak." The female disciple clenched her teeth and quickly said, "It is at the gathering spot of the Xuan Dao Sect. There should still be people sieging the place. We were in a rush to chase Li Shan, so we didn't bother staying there, but I'm sure they have a token." Li Shan's expression suddenly changed, but then he let out a bitter smile, because Wang Lin's gaze fell on him. "It is in Elder Liu Mei's hand." He wanted to lie, but the moment he saw Wang Lin's gaze, he couldn't help but tell the truth. He never had this kind of feeling, even when meeting ancestor Punanzi. Elder Liu Mei? Wang Lin pondered a little. The image of a very beautiful young woman came to his mind. He looked at Li Shan and asked, "She reached the foundation establishment stage?" Li Shan nodded with envy and said, Ancestor Punanzi personally helped her reach the foundation establishment stage. Wang Lin pondered a little and couldn't help but think of everything that had happened back at the Hengyue Mountain. Scenes of his parents appeared in his mind, and his heart couldn't help but ache. He reached out, grabbing the female disciple and Li Shan as he jumped into the air. The female disciple panicked, and a damp spot appeared on her pants as her face turned very red. "Tell me where the Xuan Dao Sect is." Wang Lin frowned as he held the female disciple a bit further away. The female disciple weakly pointed in a direction, and Li Shan also gave in and gave a more detailed direction. Wang Lin didn't say a word and quickly moved forward. After a short period of time, they arrived at the gathering ground of the Xuan Dao Sect under the two's guidance. The ground was in complete disarray. It was clear that there was a harsh battle here before. After Wang Lin arrived, he waved his hand, and the female disciple and Li Shan fell to the ground. "You can leave," Wang Lin said to the female disciple, and walked toward the gathering spot of the Xuan Dao Sect. The female disciple carefully backed up. After backing up more than 200 meters, she jumped on her flying sword and escaped as fast as she physically could. Wang Lin's tone was plain as he said, "Li Shan, call out the people of the Xuan Dao Sect. I only want the token, not to kill people." Li Shan's forehead was covered in sweat, and he took out a jade from his bag of holding with a bitter smile. He held it against his forehead. After a while, he tossed it forward. The jade shot out like an arrow until it was out of sight. After a while, rings of light appeared on the ground. Then they became pillars of light. Inside the pillars were 10 people sitting cross-legged on the ground. Among them was a beautiful girl that would make anyone's heart pound faster. Her expression was solemn, her hands formed the shape of a vase, and a duster was floating above her head. This duster was like white hair as waves of white light spread out from it. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he looked at the faces of these 10 people. The girl suddenly opened her eyes. When she saw Li Shan at first, she didn't care, but when she saw Wang Lin next to Li Shan, she was startled. After carefully looking at Wang Lin, her eyes revealed a strange light. She waved her hand, and the duster landed in her hand. The pillar of light slowly dissipated. Among the 10 Xuan Dao Sect disciples, there was a 30-or-so-year-old young man who looked at Wang Lin with a complex expression and said, "Wang, senior brother Wang, long time no see." This person was Liu Mei's brother, Liu Feng. Wang Lin scanned him with his divine sense and found that he had reached the early stage of foundation establishment too. However, his spiritual energy was unstable. It was clear that he had just entered the foundation establishment stage. Wang Lin stayed at them and let out a sigh as he said, "Xuan Dao Sect. Forget it. Hand over your token and I won't make it hard on you guys." One of the 10 Xuan Dao Sect disciples, an old man, stood up and sighed. "Ah, what an arrogant junior, asking us to hand over our token right away. Liu Fen, do you know him?" Liu Feng wryly smiled and said, "Senior Apprentice Ma, he is Wang Lin." The old man named Ma was startled, and then he sneered, "So it's you. But even if you have reached the foundation establishment stage, you don't have the right to be arrogant before us. Scram." With that, he waved his hand, and a huge gust of wind blew toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin didn't even dodge. Just as the gust of wind got within 5 meters of him, it turned into pieces of ice and fell to the ground. At the same time, there was a flash of green light, and the old man named Ma's body shook as a giant hole appeared in his chest. Then his entire body froze, and he died. Wang Lin had a strong feeling that after his spiritual energy changed, there was a powerful killing intent in his mind. He had almost lost control of it many times, so he just gave up on controlling it. The sword flashed green as it circled around Wang Lin with the tip pointed at the Xuan Dao Sect. If one looked closely as the sword flew, it would pause, but Wang Lin would quickly force it to move. The expression of the Xuan Dao Sect disciples changed greatly, and Liu Feng was dumbfounded as his heart shivered and beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. He had always seen Wang Lin as his goal, and when he reached the foundation establishment stage with the help of Punanzi 1 year ago, he thought that he had surpassed Wang Lin. But looking at it now, not only had Wang Lin already reached the foundation establishment stage, but his cultivation was very strange. Senior apprentice Ma, who was at the mid-stage of foundation establishment, died after one attack from Wang Lin. What cultivation level had Wang Lin reached? The more he thought about it, the more scared he became. Liu Mei unexpectedly didn't reveal a surprised expression, but after looking at Wang Lin, she decisively took out the token and tossed it at him. From beginning to end, she didn't say a word, but her eyes were always on Wang Lin. After putting away the token, Wang Lin coldly looked at Liu Mei. Then he turned around and disappeared into the distance. After a long time, Liu Mei withdrew her gaze and sighed. Her unparalleled charm seemed to have no effect in front of Wang Lin. After returning to his cave, Wang Lin took out the 5 tokens. After pondering a bit, he crushed 4 of them without any hesitation and placed the remaining token in his bag of holding. He used his attraction force technique to move rocks to block the entrance of the cave. After setting up some defensive formations, he began his closed-door training. He needs to be fully prepared for the battle in 2 months.